Hello, and welcome to Eastern Roman history. Ruling from 715 to 717, Theodosius's merciful treatment of Anastasius II may have been enough to have cemented his regime had its foundations not lain on such uncertain ground. He was emperor by virtue of the Opsician themata, and that was his only claim to legitimacy, being nothing more than a tax collector. Anastasius II had been no tyrant. Unsurprisingly, the Anatolicon strategos, Leo the Isaurian, a nominal loyalist of Anastasius, and his loyal ally Artabasdos, strategos of the Armeniacon strategia, rebelled against Theodosius III in 716. It is postulated by Graham Sumner that this Theodosius III was related to the Emperor Tiberius III Apsimar, thus giving him a link to the throne. Sumner speculates that this might explain why the Opsician troops chose a seemingly random man to become emperor. Alternatively, Theodosius's father may have simply shared the same name as the late emperor, and it is mere coincidence. It is impossible to truly know for certain. It was in 715, following the deposition of Anastasius, that Leo the Isaurian married his daughter Anna to Artabasdos, who, after Leo's death, would fight a civil war with Leo's son, Constantine V, for the throne. By 716, the situation was bleak, perhaps even more so than the invasion during the reign of Constantine IV, and perhaps comparable in magnitude compared to the Persian siege of Constantinople under Heraclius. Nikephoros the Patriarch speaks of the descent of the Eastern Roman Empire to near total anarchy and destruction. Nikephoros I, Patriarch of Constantinople, Short History, Chapter 52. On account of the frequent assumptions of imperial power and the prevalence of usurpation, the affairs of the empire and the city were being neglected and declined. Furthermore, education was being destroyed, and military organization crumbled. As a result, the enemy were able to overrun the Roman state with impunity and to cause much slaughter, abduction, and the capture of cities. For this reason, also, the Saracens advanced on the imperial city itself, sending forth by land an innumerable host of horse and foot from the various peoples subject to them, as well as a great fleet numbering as many as 1,800 ships under the command of a certain Maslama. When the military and civil dignitaries became aware of these matters, taking account of Theodosius's lack of experience and his incapacity of offering resistance to the enemy, they pressed him with exhortations to abdicate the imperial office and assume, without harm, a private station. He, accordingly, withdrew after a reign of 1 year. The Arabs had launched their fleet, which was bound for Constantinople, and they already had 2 armies under the command of Sulayman and Maslama invading through Anatolia. Leo the Isaurian managed, through some duplicitous negotiations on both sides, to prevent the Arabs from taking Amorian. With the Arabs stalled on the land while they wintered, Leo marched to Nicomedia and stumbled across Theodosius's son, along with the imperial household and palace dignitaries. In 717, Leo then marched to Chrysopolis. Theodosius III consulted the Senate and the Patriarch Germanus on what he should do, and decided to ask of Leo the same terms that he had offered Anastasius II, that he would abdicate if he and his son were not harmed. Leo agreed to the demands that the Patriarch presented him, and thus Theodosius III and his son became clergymen, and left the defence of the empire to a far more capable and enthusiastic Emperor Leo III. Theodosius' story does not end there. Sumner speculated that a certain Theodosius the son of Apsimar was Bishop of Ephesus and a councillor of Leo III in 729. Another Theodosius, son of Apsimar, was again mentioned as being the Bishop of Ephesus and a leading figure in the iconoclast council held by Constantine V in 754. It is this association with Theodosius III, with Bishop Theodosius the son of Absimar, that gave Sumner the idea that he could be the son of Tiberius III Absimar. This Theodosius died that same year. However, Cyril Mango and Roger Scott are not convinced of this, and explain why in the notes to Theophanes' Chronicle, Annus Mundi 6207. Firstly, he would survive nearly 40 years after his abdication, which, although not impossible, was not very likely. There is no mention that Bishop Theodosius was a former emperor, which the sources most certainly would have. This assumption would also make Theodosius an iconoclast heretic, which iconophiles said worked miracles, which is very unlikely. Adding to this, he was remembered for being very pious, something no iconoclast would have been praised for. Mango and Scott conclude that Theodosius did die at Ephesus, but as a member of the clergy and not a bishop. He was buried in the church of St. Philip, next to the city's harbour. Thus, it is likely that Theodosius III really was a nobody tax collector that was in the right place at the right time. Even so, out of the emperors that reigned after the death of Constantine IV until the return to dynastic stability under Leo III, it was Theodosius III that managed to outlive them all. And in this, one can have some admiration for this emperor. I have been your host, Daniel Maynard, and this has been Eastern Roman History.